Right now, I'm going to tell you how to always win even when the odds are stacked against you. And this applies in dating, in social life, in school and work. And I call this the disadvantage antivenom. So it neutralizes any disadvantage that you have. And the disadvantage antivenom is taken in 2 doses. So the first dose is when you're playing on an equal playing field, what you have to do is you have to do what the top performers do. And when you're playing on an unequal playing field or you're playing in a frame that's unfair, you have to do actually what is unique to you. And I'm going to explain that in a bit. Dating is a little bit different because it's not an equal playing field. So it's like I covered in my last video, and it's actually motivated me to make this video, is that people who are attractive will benefit so much more than people who aren't. And in a way, it's almost like if you're not attractive and you cannot make yourself attractive, right? So if you can make yourself attractive, that's going to obviously help you a lot because you're going to be now benefiting. You're going to be in a position of privilege. But if you can't make yourself more attractive, which is I think true for a lot of people, I think the best way is probably just to give up and just to play a different game. And what I mean by that is there's always going to be somebody who's attractive and who's going to want to date somebody who doesn't value looks in particular. And this is going to be true, I believe, in women actually more than in men. So for example, like imagine somebody's really into pogo sticking. They want somebody who shares what they love. And so they might actually value, for example, attractiveness a little bit less. It's not like they're going to completely throw it away, but you want to find these sort of secondary pools. So everybody values attractiveness, for example, and you just cannot compete with the top supply, right? And so what you want to do is you want to be the number one person in those values. And this, it's not just about being kind or being nice. It's a little bit more so about, you have to think about what do people value that I have, that it's not going to take a lot of effort. And everyone has an attractiveness rating, but not everybody is a good cook or a good, funny or good at their job. If you're not successful in one niche, you have to niche down. You have to take other niches that you are going to be successful with. And this comes to the idea of using your unfair advantage. And this is essentially a skill you have that other people don't. So for example, I want to be a psychologist and I love learning about psychology. I spend a lot of time reading and a lot of effort goes into learning about psychology. And I just do this because I love it, not any particular other reason. I already have that effort put in from something else. So from reading, from school, that's what I'm talking about. So when I want to make a psychology video, I already have stuff off the top of my mind. I already have theories. I already have stuff in my notes. I already know what books I'm probably going to consult. And even though a lot of my videos take a super long time and they take a lot of research, I already have a substantial base, which makes it possible for me to actually make these videos in the first place. And it makes it impossible for other people. And so this is my unfair advantage. I can use my previous skills that other people don't have, and I can outcompete them in another field. So for example, imagine somebody really values learning, somebody really values psychology. That would be somebody who would be great for me, right? Because I already have put all this effort into something else, and now I can just capitalize. I can just switch. I can take that effort and I can move it into a different domain, and I can also profit off it, right? So imagine if, for example, I take this effort and I move it around to different domains, right? I put a lot of effort into psychology. I move it into YouTube, right? I have an unfair disadvantage. So I have an unfair advantage at YouTube. I take this effort, I move it to dating. Now I have an unfair advantage in dating. So I'm competing in a different game, right? So people who want to date somebody who's not particularly attractive, they want to date somebody who is particularly good at the X, and they don't actually super much care. Attractiveness would be a nice bonus, but it's not everything. To explain the first one, the truth is that we're living in the most democratized time in history. But even though the game seems fair, the outcomes aren't actually equal. This is kind of obvious, we can see. So to explain this, think about tic-tac-toe, right? Like in theory, the game should be fair because both players have an equal chance to win. The game is not stacked against one person or the other. But in practice, whoever wins is actually going to be whoever has the best theoretical knowledge of tic-tac-toe strategy. So the game is biased towards the person who has the best strategy. So in practice, the game is actually not fair, even though in theory, the game is fair. It's kind of an interesting concept to think about. And I think it's actually the same thing is true in real life. Even in social life, in work, in applying for school, it might seem fair because everyone is kind of applying in the same pathway, right? You're applying through LinkedIn, you're applying through your university application portal. But actually, the people who win are going to be the people who have the best knowledge about what to do, how to structure your interview, the ins and outs that you can't necessarily actually always get from reading a book. So it's not a strict meritocracy. It's a little bit about gaming the system. And so, for example, take YouTube. In YouTube, a lot of the success actually comes from the meta-analytics. So stuff like tags, hashtags, description, also the thumbnail, the video design. And we haven't even actually gone towards filming the actual video, right? So a lot of this work comes beforehand. And a smaller channel like me, they can't really compete against a bigger channel who have literally consultants, teams, statisticians doing market research, what kind of video idea they should get. I'm thinking about the number one channel at the time, Smosh. This was actually the most subscribed channel on YouTube. That when they were number one, they had a consultant company who was crunching all of their ideas, giving them suggestions based on statistics, based on what other videos are performing well in the same niche and other niches, anticipating trends. And a very popular YouTuber, Game Theory, I think his name is Matt, he actually worked as a statistician for YouTube. So he was a consultant. Or not, so not for YouTube, for Smosh particularly. And for, I guess, like he worked in YouTube more broadly.
And I was their director of digital strategy there, where I was overseeing all of the channel operations. I was optimizing some channels more than others.
Well, we'd still have meetings with you like once every week or two. We'd be sitting there and you'd come in and you'd have this presentation about breaking down our analytics and why things were working, why things weren't working.
So if we take Kai, because she's Donald Trump's daughter, it's no doubt that she has these best consultants. And so what I can do is I can't hire a consultant to teach me, but what I can do is I can see what the consultant tells her to do. I can just do the same thing. I don't actually have to understand it. They're going to explain to Kai how it works, why it works. And that's a kind of a luxury that I can't afford. But if I see her do one thing in her thumbnail, I see her do one thing in her description, because YouTube it's a free market. So I take what works, what strategies work on the free market, developed by courtesy, Kai. I take those strategies. I can use them in my own videos technically. Even though me and Kai are not in the same niche, it doesn't exactly work perfectly. An example of the first antivenom, of the first dose of the antivenom. And this is not limited just to YouTube. You can apply this in your life too. So think about applying for university, right? When I was applying for university, I didn't have a clue on what to do, how to build my resume. I knew grades were important, but I didn't know what to say on the interview or whatever, right? And so what I noticed is that the people who were very wealthy in my school and whose parents also went to the same schools that they later did, is they had a very structured plan on what to do, because they knew exactly what the university was sort of looking for at this point. And what you have to do basically is, if you're in a position where you don't have parents who know what to do or somebody who's guiding you, you can just go up to other people's parents and you don't tell them anything. You just kind of pay attention to what they're doing, right? So if you hear that somebody whose parents are super wealthy, like, yeah, I volunteered at a camp, you should go. I don't know if they're going to volunteer at a camp, because I don't know if that's what people do. But if that's what people do, then you go volunteer at the camp, because maybe then they're going to be applying towards a different area that's related. And so you might think, oh, it's not a big deal to volunteer at a camp, but actually volunteering at the camp will give you the next step. And that step will give you the step after that. And eventually they're going to be really far ahead of you. And so a good person who does this on YouTube is, I think her name is Eliza. And so I think she basically applies this principle. She just goes top down, investigates what other people do, and then she applies that into her own life, her own application. That's how she got into Harvard. And she's also an admissions coach now. And so in summary, if the game is unfair, what you want to do is you want to stand out. You want to play a different game, and you want to exist in a different niche. But if the game is fair, what you want to do is you want to imitate the top performers. So you want to imitate, the wealthy person, the aristocrat, etc. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching my video. I hope you found that theory kind of interesting. We went from 3 subscribers to 9 subscribers now. That's very exciting for me. And actually, we got 2,000 views combined on the other 2 shorts. And so thank you very much for watching those. I'm going to be posting more shorts too, and I'm going to be posting my Psychology of the Attractive Person next week, I think, or the week after, because I'm having an interview, so I might be a little bit. I might not make it next week. It's in a different city, but definitely going to be in time for Valentine's Day. Okay, well, thank you very much. And before I go, if you find this video interesting, you're probably going to find this video interesting here. I talked about it. It's about all the advantages of being attractive, and it's actually pretty surprising. I think it's going to be you're going to find it very sobering. Okay, thank you very much. The video is right here.